On March 3rd, 2025, a man in his 60s walked into my shop holding a trade-in appraisal from a Toyota dealership, and he could not stop shaking his head. His 2018 Tacoma was clean, garage kept, oil changed on schedule. He had washed it that morning. The salesman had walked around it, complimented the paint, and offered a number that sounded fair. Then the appraiser took the truck into the back for 15 minutes. When it came out, the offer had dropped by $3,100. No new scratches had appeared. No test drive had revealed a noise. Nothing visible had changed. The only thing the appraiser did was plug a small cable into a port under the dashboard and stare at a tablet. Today, I am going to show you exactly what that appraiser saw. Why 15 minutes with a cable is worth thousands of dollars to a dealership, and how you can look at the same information yourself before you ever hand over your keys. Because here is what most people never realize. When a dealer appraises your Toyota, they are not really inspecting your truck. They are interrogating it. And your truck answers every question honestly, in detail, going back years, whether you want it to or not. I have been working on Toyotas for over 2 decades, and I can tell you the walk-around is theater. The kick of the tires, the glance at the engine bay, the peek under the wheel arches, that is for you. The real appraisal happens through the diagnostic port, because modern Toyotas are rolling record keepers. Every control module in the vehicle, and a modern Tacoma, RAV4, or Camry has dozens of them, stores memory. The engine computer remembers, the transmission computer remembers, the airbag module remembers, and Toyota's factory diagnostic software, a system called TechStream, can pull all of it in a single pass. Dealers call it a health check. One connection, a few minutes, and every module in the vehicle reports in. Every current fault, every pending fault, and here is the part that surprises people. Every historical fault that has been stored along the way. Let me be very clear about what that means. That check engine light that came on last winter, the one that went away on its own so you forgot about it, there is a very good chance a record of it still exists. That transmission code your buddy cleared with his cheap scanner before you listed the truck, the clearing itself may be more visible than the code ever was. Because modern vehicles do not just store faults, they store context around faults, and they store the fingerprints of people who try to erase them. Here is the first thing an appraiser looks at, and it is the most misunderstood concept in all of consumer car ownership. Readiness monitors. Your Toyota constantly runs self-tests on its emissions systems, the catalytic converter, the oxygen sensors, the evaporative system, and more. When those tests have run and passed, the monitors show complete. But the moment someone clears codes or disconnects the battery, most of those monitors reset to incomplete, and they stay incomplete until the vehicle has been driven through very specific conditions, sometimes over several days of mixed driving. So when an appraiser plugs in and sees a truck with 90,000 miles on the odometer and a set of monitors that look like the vehicle was born yesterday, they do not need to find a single fault code. The blank slate is the evidence. It tells them someone recently wiped the memory, and people do not wipe memory on vehicles that have nothing to hide. Fair or not, that appraisal number just dropped, because now they are pricing in the worst-case version of whatever they cannot see. And then there is the layer almost no driver has ever heard of: permanent diagnostic trouble codes. Since roughly the 2010 model year, regulators required manufacturers to build in a class of fault code that lives in protected memory. Permanent codes cannot be reset by disconnecting the battery and cannot be cleared with a scan tool. The only way they go away is to actually fix the underlying problem and then drive the vehicle long enough for the monitor that caught the fault to run again and pass. Think about what that means at appraisal time. A seller can clear the regular codes, turn off the warning light, and hand over a truck that looks perfectly healthy on the dash. But the permanent code sits there in non-volatile memory, quietly telling the appraiser's tablet the whole story. This vehicle had a confirmed fault, the light was on, and the system has not yet verified a repair. This entire mechanism was created specifically to stop people from passing inspections by clearing codes or pulling the battery right before the test. Dealers know this. Most sellers do not. That gap in knowledge is worth real money, and it is never worth it in your favor. But the engine computer is just the beginning, because a Toyota health check does not stop at the powertrain. It walks through every module on the network. The ABS and stability control system stores its own history codes, wheel speed sensor dropouts, yaw sensor complaints, and brake actuator faults. The airbag control module is even more interesting because it functions partly as an event recorder. If the vehicle has taken a hit hard enough to wake up the restraint system, evidence of that event can live in that module. I have personally watched a spotless, freshly painted Camry, a car whose body panels would fool almost anyone, confess to a collision through its diagnostic data. The paint said nothing happened. The modules disagreed. Guess which one the appraiser believed? If you own a Toyota hybrid, there is another chapter entirely. On a Prius, a RAV4 hybrid, or a Camry hybrid, TechStream can display the high-voltage battery data block by block, the individual voltage readings across the pack. A healthy pack shows blocks tracking closely together. An aging pack shows blocks drifting apart, and a weak block sticking out from its neighbors is the early signature of the most expensive repair on the vehicle, often visible long before any warning light appears and long before you feel anything from the driver's seat. Your hybrid can feel perfectly smooth on the test drive while its battery data quietly tells the appraiser it is living on borrowed time. They will price that in. They will not explain that they priced it in. And here is the piece that has nothing to do with the cable at all. When a Toyota dealer takes your VIN, they can also look up your vehicle in Toyota's own systems. Service performed at Toyota dealerships nationwide, warranty claims, open recalls, whether software campaigns were ever completed. If you told the salesman the truck was dealer-maintained its whole life and the system shows 2 oil changes in 6 years, that conversation is over before it started. If a warranty claim exists for a transmission concern at 40,000 miles, they know about it even if you forgot it ever happened. Now let me give you the uncomfortable truth, because this is the part that should actually bother you. None of this technology is the problem. Data is honest. Records are good. The problem is the asymmetry. The dealership gets to interrogate your vehicle at a professional level, extract years of history, and then negotiate against you using information you have never seen. When the data helps their position, you will hear about it in detail. When the data helps your position, when it shows a clean history, completed monitors, healthy fuel trims, a hybrid battery with tightly matched blocks, that somehow never makes it into the conversation, and it certainly never raises the offer. The tablet only ever seems to find reasons to pay you less. That is not a technology problem. That is an incentive problem. The appraiser's job is not to discover your truck's value. It is to acquire your truck for the minimum number the two of you will both sign. So what do you actually do about it? You do what they do before they do it. You do not need TechStream, and you do not need a dealership. A decent consumer scan tool, and I mean a real one in the range of a nice dinner out, not the cheapest thing on the shelf, will read stored codes, pending codes, readiness monitor status, and critically, permanent codes, which live in their own menu, sometimes labeled Mode 0A. A couple of weeks before you plan to sell or trade, plug in and read everything. Do not clear anything. Read first. Write it down. You are building the same picture the appraiser will build, except you are doing it while you still have time to act on it. If you find a stored code, diagnose it and fix the actual problem. I know that sounds obvious, but understand why the order matters. Fixing the fault and then driving the vehicle normally is the only path that produces a truly clean report. The monitors need to run and pass on their own. There is no shortcut, no magic number of restarts, no tool trick that substitutes for the vehicle verifying the repair itself. When the fix is real, the codes retire on their own, the permanent code clears itself through legitimate drive cycles, and the monitors return to complete. That report, real faults, really fixed, verified by the vehicle's own systems, is the strongest negotiating document you can bring to an appraisal, because it is the one document they cannot argue with. It is their own language. What you should never do is clear codes and rush to the dealership the next morning. I want you to hear this clearly, because people ruin their own appraisals this way constantly. A wiped computer with incomplete monitors does not read as clean. It reads as concealment. You will get treated worse than if you had left the original code sitting there, because now they assume the hidden problem is bigger than whatever it actually was. And if a permanent code is lurking underneath, you have handed them proof of the attempt. Honesty here is not just ethics, it is strategy. The system was literally engineered so that concealment fails and verified repairs succeed. Before the appraisal, also pull your own paper trail. If your Toyota was serviced at dealerships, that history is retrievable, so check your Toyota owner's account online. Print it. If you maintained it yourself or used an independent shop like mine, bring receipts. When their screen and your folder tell the same story, you have taken away their favorite tool, which is doubt. Doubt is what they discount. Certainty is what you get paid for. And I will give you the honest caveats, because this channel does not sell fantasies. If your truck has a real problem, the data will show it, and it should. This video is not about beating the system. It is about not being the only person in the room who cannot see the screen. Sometimes the appraiser's number drops for completely legitimate reasons, and knowing the data ahead of time means you will know the difference between a fair adjustment and a fishing expedition. There is also plenty the scan tool cannot tell either of you: worn control arm bushings, a tired water pump, seeping struts. Electronic history is one layer of the truth, not all of it. A truck with a perfect health check can still need work, and a truck with an ugly historical code can be mechanically excellent today. The data is a starting point for an honest conversation in both directions. But here is what changes when you walk in prepared. The 15 minutes in the back stops being a mystery. When the appraiser comes out and says the scan showed some concerns, you can ask which module, which code, current or history, and whether the monitors were complete. Watch their face when you ask that. I have had customers tell me the entire tone of the negotiation shifted in that moment because the appraiser realized the information asymmetry was gone. You do not have to be a mechanic. You just have to demonstrate that you have seen your own data, and suddenly the vague, ominous phrases, "some things came up on the scan," stop working. Because vague phrases only work on people who cannot ask specific questions. Your Toyota keeps honest records. That was never the threat. The threat was that only one side of the table could read them. Now you can. If this pulled back the curtain for you, hit that like button so more Toyota owners see it before their next trade-in. Subscribe, because next week I am breaking down what those health check reports actually look like line by line, and which findings genuinely matter versus which ones dealers inflate. And if you have ever had an appraisal drop after someone disappeared with your truck and a tablet, tell me the story in the comments. How much did the number move, and did they ever tell you why? Because the most expensive thing at a dealership is not on the lot. It is the information you did not know your own truck was giving away.